The palace erupted in chaos. Guards shouted, servants screamed and fled. News of the death spread like wildfire, and by nightfall, the people of Umudike gathered outside the palace gates, chanting, "The cursed one must be banished, the cursed one must be banished." King Obinna stood before them, his voice booming, trying to calm his people. "She is my daughter. Do not forget that her blood is royal." But the people were afraid. Fear had already become hatred. Inside the palace, Oluchi sat alone, trembling. Her hands shook as she stared at them. "I didn't mean to," she thought. "I tried to hold it back, but it happened so fast." Oba entered quietly. Instead of scolding her, he smiled. "Do you see now?" he whispered. "This is your power. They hate you because they fear you. And fear, princess, is the sharpest weapon of all." Oluchi turned her tear-streaked face to him. "I killed an innocent girl. How can you call that a weapon?" Oba's eyes darkened. "Because the world is not innocent, princess. Those who mocked you, those who spat your name as if it was filth, they deserve to fear you. They deserve to bow to you." His words sank into her like poison. That night, as she lay awake, she heard the villagers still chanting outside the gate. She clenched her fist, and deep inside, something shifted, something darker. The next morning, Queen Chiamaka went to her daughter's chamber. She found Oluchi sitting by the window, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "My daughter," the queen whispered, "I fear that this man Oba is filling your ears with dangerous thoughts." Oluchi turned slowly. "Dangerous thoughts? Or the truth, mother?" "All my life, I have lived in shame. I have hidden like a rat in my own home. But now, for the first time, I feel strong. I feel alive." Queen Chiamaka's heart broke. She knelt beside her daughter and reached out, but quickly drew back her hand, afraid. "Oluchi, listen to me. Your curse is not meant to rule. It's meant to be broken. Please do not let this man lead you astray." Oluchi's gaze softened for a moment, but then hardened again. "If my curse is not to rule, then tell me, mother, why was I born with it at all?" The queen had no answer. Tears filled her eyes as she left the room. From the shadow, Oba watched, a smile curving his lips. The trap was working. Soon, Oluchi would belong to him, and through her, so would Umudike. But fate had other plans. That very week, a festival was held in honor of the harvest gods. Though the harvest had been poor, the priests insist the ritual must go on. The people gathered in the palace courtyard, drumming, dancing, pouring libations to the spirits. For the first time in years, Oluchi was allowed to attend, though she was kept apart from the crowd, standing beside her parents. As the drums thundered and the dancers twirled, something strange happened. The sky darkened, though no clouds had gathered. A cold wind swept through the courtyard, extinguishing the torches. The crowd gasped as the voice of the old blind seer echoed from the shadows. "The curse awakens. The daughter of the red moon will choose her path, and when she chooses, kingdoms will rise or kingdoms will fall." The people screamed and scattered. The drumming stopped, and Oluchi, her heart racing, felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. She looked down at her hands and saw them glowing faintly, as if a fire burned beneath her skin. Her curse had awakened in a new, terrifying way. That night, Oluchi dreamed. She stood in a vast field of withered trees, their branches reaching for her like bony hands. In the distance, two paths stretched out, one bathed with light and the other swallowed in darkness. A voice whispered in her ears, "Choose, daughter of the red moon, life or death." She woke with a cry, her body trembling, sweat pouring down her face, and in the corner of her chamber, Oba stood watching silently, his eye glinting with triumph. The night after the festival, Umudike was restless. The people whispered in fear about the seer's prophecy. The king shut himself in his chamber, pacing endlessly. The queen wept silently at the family shrine, but Oluchi sat alone in her chamber, her hands trembling as faint light still glowed beneath her skin. Life or death, she thought. Which path am I meant to choose? A soft knock came at her door. It was Oba. He stepped inside, his cloak swirling like a shadow. You felt it, didn't you? He whispered. Oluchi nodded, in shaky voice. It was as if the curse inside me woke up. Oba smiled, his eye glinting. Not a curse, princess, a gift. You are not just a girl with a deadly touch anymore. You are power itself, and power is meant to be used. Oluchi frowned. Used for what? Oba leaned close, his voice dropping. To take what is yours, the throne, the crown, the respect they have always denied you. Why should your brother inherit the kingdom when you are the one the spirits have chosen? Oluchi's heart raced. His voice burned in her ears, tempting her, but a small voice inside her whispered of her mother's warning, of the innocent servant girl she had killed. No, she said, shaking her head. I don't want thrones or crowns. I only want peace. For the first time, Oba's smile faded. His eyes hardened, and his true nature slipped through. Peace? Peace is for the weak. You were never meant for peace. You were meant for conquest. Before Oluchi could respond, the door burst open. Queen Chiamaka stood there, her eyes blazing. I knew it, she cried. You are not whom you claim to be. Tell us, stranger, who sent you? Oba's laughter echoed like thunder. He dropped his disguise, his form shifting like smoke. His voice twisted until the truth was revealed. He was not a wandering herbalist at all, but a dark sorcerer in service of Chief Dikora of Okabia. The queen gasped. The enemy! Yes, Oba hissed, his voice dripping with malice. I was sent to guide the princess to her true destiny as the destroyer of Umudiki with her curse. Okabia will reign supreme. He raised his hands, and shadows leaped from his fingers like serpents, wrapping around Oluchi. Oluchi screamed as the power inside her surged widely. Her skin burned with light, her veins glowing like molten fire. The air in the room trembled. Stop! Queen Chiamaka shouted, rushing forward. Leave my daughter! But Oba flung her aside with a wave of his hand. The queen crashed against the wall, groaning in pain. The commotion drew guards, but as they stormed in, Oba's shadow magic struck them down one by one. Oluchi's eyes blazed with terror and fury. She looked at Oba, her hands glowing brighter than ever. You used me, she whispered. You tried to turn me into a weapon. Oba sneered, and you will be a weapon, whether you like it or not. But in that moment, something inside Oluchi snapped. She remembered the dream of the two paths, life or death, light or darkness. She raised her hands, her voice trembling yet firm. If I am cursed, then I will choose how the curse is used. She touched the ground. A wave of power exploded from her palms, shaking the palace to its roots. The floor cracked, walls trembled. Oba staggered back, his dark magic clashing against her light. The two forces collided in a storm of shadows and fire. Outside, the people of Umudike saw the palace glowing with strange light, and fear gripped their hearts. Some cried out that the end had come. Inside, Oluchi and Oba battled fiercely. He sent shadows to strangle her, but her glowing touch burned them away. She struck him with her hand, and part of his body withered, but he snarled and healed himself with dark chants. You cannot kill me, princess, Oba roared. I am bound to the spirit of Okabia. As long as they live, so do I. Oluchi's heart raced. She realized then that destroying him would not be enough. She had to destroy the bond that tied him to his dark master. But how? Her mother, struggling to rise, called out weakly, Oluchi, remember the ancestors. Call upon them. The words struck her like lightning. She closed her eyes, pressing her glowing palms together. O great spirit of Umudike, ancestors of my blood, she whispered, if my curse is truly my crown, then let me use it not for death, but for life, for my people. The air shifted. A warm wind swept through the chamber. The glow in her hands grew so bright that Oba shielded his eyes with a scream. No, you cannot resist me. You are mine, he howled. Oluchi opened her eyes, blazing with light. I belong to no one. She thrust her hand forward, and the power of her curse, now transformed by the blessings of the ancestors, struck Oba with force. His body twisted, his shadows burning away, until with a final scream he crumbled into ash. Silence fell. The glow faded. The trembling stopped. Oluchi collapsed to her knee, exhausted. Queen Chiamaka crawled to her and held her close, unafraid for the first time. You chose life, my daughter, the queen whispered, tears streaming down her face. You chose well. But though Oba was gone, his master Chief Dikora still lived, and when he learned that his sorcerer had failed, his fury would shake Okabia, and Oluchi knew this was only the beginning. The palace of Umudike lay silent after Oba's defeat, but peace did not last. Far away in Okabia, Chief Dikora stood before a roaring fire. When word reached him that his sorcerer had fallen, his fury was like a storm. He tore the beads from his neck and smashed his staff against the ground. So the princess defied me, he growled. She dare reject the destiny I prepared for her. He raised his spear high, his voice booming across the night. Then we'll march at dawn. Okabia will fall upon Umudike like locust, and if the cursed princess stands in my way, I will rip the power from her body with my own hands. His warriors roared in response, beating their shields. The drums of war thundered, echoing through the hills. In Umudike, the king's council gathered in panic. Messengers had already arrived, breathless, with news of Okabia's incoming invasion. My king, one elder said, trembling, Okabia's warriors are many, and they are fierce. If they reach our gates, we will be swept away. King Obina slammed his staff against the floor. Then we shall fight. We will not bow to Dikora. Even as he spoke, his eyes betrayed his fear. He knew Okabia's numbers were greater, and in the shadows of the hall, Oluchi listened quietly. She felt the weight of every gaze, every whisper. They say she killed the sorcerer. Perhaps she is our only hope, or perhaps she will destroy us all. Oluchi clenched her fist. The choice she had made against Oba had given her strength, but it had also painted a target on her back. Now, both her people and her enemies saw her not just as a cursed girl, but as the deciding weapon of the coming war. That night, she walked alone to the shrine of the ancestors. The moon above was full and pale, casting long shadows. She knelt before the sacred flame and whispered, "O ancestors, if my curse is truly my crown, then tell me, how can I use it to save my people?" The flame flickered, the wind rustled the trees, and a voice, soft yet steady, filled the air. "Daughter of the red moon, your curse is neither life nor death. It is choice. What you choose, the land will become." Oluchi bowed her head. Tears stung her eyes. "Then I will choose life. I will choose Umudike." Dawn broke with the sound of war drums. The hills trembled as Okabia's warriors descended like a flood. Their spears glinted in the morning sun. Their war cries shook the earth. At their head rode Chief Dikora, his eyes blazing with hunger for conquest. The gates of Umudike shut tight, its warriors standing firm, but already the people inside wailed in fear. King Obinna mounted his horse, his sword gleaming. Queen Chiamaka stood at the walls, her heart heavy, and Oluchi stepped forward, her wrapper flowing in the wind, her eyes glowing faintly with that strange ancestral light. The people gasped as she walked to the front lines. She bowed, some recoiled, but none dared stop her. Oluchi, her father called, his voice shaking. This battle is not yours. Yes, father, she interrupted, her voice calm but firm. It is mine. If Okabia comes for me, then let me be the shield of Umudike. The battle began with a clash of steel and cries of rage. Arrows darkened the sky, spears pierced shields, blood stained the earth. Dikora himself rode at the front, cutting down warriors with his great spear. His laughter was wild, his strength unmatched. And then his eyes found Oluchi. There you are, child of the red mood, he bellowed, his voice carrying over the battlefield. Come to me, and I will take what is mine. He charged, his warriors following like a tide. Oluchi's heart pounded. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, feeling the curse born within her hands. The choice was hers, life or death. She opened her eyes and ran forward. The ground shook as she and Dikora met in the center of the battlefield. He swung his spear, but she dodged, her hands glowing brighter with each breath. He struck again. Shadows rippled from his weapon, remnants of the same dark magic that had once bound Oba. You cannot win, Dikora snarled. Your cause belongs to me. Oluchi's voice rang clear, strong, and enough to silence even the clash of war. I belong to no one, not to you, not to my cause. I belong to Umudike. With those words, she thrust her glowing hand against the earth. A binding wave of light erupted. The battlefield froze. Warriors on both sides staggered, shielding their eyes. Where the light touched, weapons shattered, shadows melted, and the cries of war fell silent. Dikora roared, trying to push forward, but the light wrapped around him like chains. He fought, but his strength withered, his skin cracked, his eyes burned, and with a final scream, his body crumbled into dust. The light spread wider, washing over the field, but instead of death, it brought life. Withered crops at the edge of the battlefield sprouted green shoots. The wounded felt their pain ease. Even the air smelled fresh, cleansed of blood and fear. When the light faded, silence reigned. The warriors of Okabia dropped their weapons, their spirits broken. Umudike's people fell to their knees, staring at Oluchi in awe. The curse had not destroyed them, it had saved them. Later that evening, as the sun set over the land, the people gathered in the palace square. King Obinna stood with Queen Chiamaka, their faces filled with pride and tears. My people, the king declared, today we saw with our own eyes that what we once called a curse is truly a blessing. Princess Oluchi had saved us all. The crowd roared with praise. Children sang her name, women sang her name, and warriors beat their shields in honor. But Oluchi did not smile. She stood tall, her face calm, her eyes thoughtful. She had chosen life this time, but she knew her path would never be simple. For power, once awakened, can never truly be forgotten. And so the story of Oluchi, the daughter of the Red Moon, lived on. Some called her cursed, others blessed, but all remembered the day she stood before 2 points and chose for herself and for her kingdom.